Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to be doing another episode of The Roads Not Taken. This time, it will be another special Trump exhibit. I believe this is Exhibit B. We'll be running through some of the developments in Trump's many legal entanglements and just kind of keeping everybody up to date on stuff that might get glossed over. We are going to start with the classified documents case because there is something in that is incredibly interesting to me. Just some language that appeared in an order that certainly appears to suggest that Judge Eileen Cannon has decided that some of those documents, they may still be something. So, let's run through it. The order itself reads, persons subject to this order are advised that direct or indirect unauthorized disclosure, retention, or handling of classified documents or information could cause serious damage, and in some cases, grave damage to the national security of the United States. Well, that's interesting. Those documents are still classified. All of the talk, all of Trump's claims in the media, all of that, they're still classified. The phrase grave and serious damage, those are your signs. Let's jump to the definitions. And we will go to top secret first. Top secret refers to national security information or material which requires the highest degree of protection. The test for assigning top secret classification shall be whether its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to the national security. Secret refers to that national security information or material which requires a substantial degree of protection. The test for assigning secret classification shall be whether its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause serious damage to the national security. Going back up to that order. Persons subject to this order are advised that direct or indirect unauthorized disclosure, retention, or handling of classified documents or information could cause serious damage or, in some cases, grave damage to the national security of the United States. Almost seems like those definitions were sitting out when this order was written. So, this was all about Trump wanting more access to the documents. The judge also warned that unauthorized disclosure or mishandling of this kind of stuff could, quote, constitute violations of federal criminal law. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how they wound up there. Short version, Trump can view or discuss this material in a secured area approved by the CI person. I think they have a different term for it, Classified Information Security Officer. Okay. So, even though this seems minor, it certainly appears that the judge has already determined that Trump's arguments about this stuff being declassified by wink and a nod or whatever, all not true. Okay, let's go to Georgia. Trump and Meadows are offering to waive speedy trial if they can have their cases severed. That's new. I don't know about that. The DA is still saying they're ready to go. They want to go at the end of October, try them all together. The election interference case. Trump asked for the judge's recusal in that case. And they said that basically believes she has prejudged both the facts pertinent to this case and President Trump's alleged culpability. And they went through and cited some things that she had said in other cases and stuff like that. In one part in particular, they went through and referenced this whole thing that she had said about how the people really responsible weren't held accountable yet. They're not in the courtroom. And they used that as justification to say that she had already prejudged Trump. Interestingly enough, she never actually names Trump. She just talks about how the people responsible aren't in the courtroom. This was in another January 6th case, I think. The attorneys certainly believed that that's who she was referencing. That's interesting. I don't think that they believe she'll be unfair. I don't think that's what this is about. I think there's something else at play. This judge, when you look at the other cases, those involving January 6th, my guess is that Team Trump does not want to lose in court, see him convicted, and then have him sentenced by this judge. She does not seem to be the forgiving sort. I think that probably has more to do with this than anything else. Okay, moving on to the Jean Carroll case. So Trump tried to get a stay through a federal appeals court in relation to that 2019 defamation suit. It is still scheduled to go to trial on January 15th. Trump wants time to try to invoke an immunity defense, like a presidential immunity defense or something like that. Though the court denied the stay, it gave both sides 15 days to submit written briefs on this matter and whether or not he should be allowed to invoke an immunity defense like that. Let's see, in New York, Trump appears to be trying to assert kind of a statute of limitations claim over some of the real estate deals in question. And this is in the case that involves him inflating numbers, his net worth, all of that stuff. These arguments, at the end of the day, they're going to hinge on whether or not new filings, new documents about the real estate cases reset the clock, because some of the deals are too old. But it appears like some of those deals were used later and the numbers were inflated. At least that's the allegation. And to be clear, this is the $250 million suit that was brought by the New York Attorney General. Let's see. In 14th Amendment news, because there's a lot of that. So a judge in Colorado rejected Trump's attempt to get a 14th Amendment challenge removed to federal court. It seemed almost like it was rejected due to like a procedural thing. But it's worth noting that the Colorado Secretary of State said, quote, "Trump is a liar with no respect for the Constitution." Doesn't seem like Colorado is going to be a friendly area for Trump to try to maneuver in when it comes to the 14th Amendment claims. Now, in New Hampshire, the Secretary of State desperately wants the 14th Amendment issue to be heard and reviewed by the Supreme Court before it goes too far. Seems to believe that if Trump is left off the ballot in some states and is on it in others, it's just going to cause chaos and anger. I have a lot of questions about this tactic. Even if it works, there's a whole lot of unintended consequences from this. People being upset and angry about, the ballots not matching in the different states, that's not one of them. I would remind everybody that ballots are always different in different states. So it is what it is when it comes to that. Okay. Jenna Ellis news. So Ellis was censured by a judge in Colorado. During these proceedings, Ellis stipulated that some of the comments she made about the 2020 election violated rules prohibiting reckless, knowing, or intentional misrepresentations by attorneys. Now, Jessica Yates, who is an attorney who helps the Supreme Court regulate attorneys, there's a quote there that says, "The public censure in this matter reinforces that even if engaged in political speech, there is a line attorneys cannot cross, particularly when they are speaking in a representative capacity." The penalty for this censure is not much. I want to say it's like a $200 fine or something like that. It's not a big deal. The reason you may see this again is because Ellis stipulated that, hey, yeah, some of that was out of line. So that will probably come up later. Then you have Navarro. So Navarro was recently found guilty at trial. Now, Navarro is claiming that some jurors seeing protesters during a break while they were deliberating is grounds for a mistrial. The arguments were heard. The judge didn't immediately rule after this post-trial hearing. And to be clear, post-trial hearings are rare. They don't happen very often. And basically, the judge is going to decide the issue later, is whether or not it's really grounds for a mistrial. There were some signs that said, I want to say they said like defend democracy or something like that. It doesn't appear that any of the jurors actually talked to any of the protesters, but apparently Navarro and his team believe that just the presence of the signs might be enough to get a mistrial. We'll see how that goes. We will end with a rare Trump win. An appeals court ruled that the special counsel's office can't have access to Scott Perry's calls with other Republicans who are in Congress. Basically, speech and debate. In the U.S. Constitution, there's a thing called the Speech and Debate Clause, which protects people in Congress. The court decided that applied here. Does that mean that all of Scott Perry's information is no longer accessible and none of that's going to come into play? No. It's pretty narrow in scope. But this is a Trump win. And given everything else that we just covered, I mean, let's be honest, there's not a lot of those. So there you go. So that appears to be the news related to Trump and the legal entanglements. I'm sure there's more. There's always maneuvering that is occurring behind the scenes. There's always little bits of legal news that comes out. But these were the ones that seem like we'll end up seeing them again. So, and to me, the classified documents, that order using that language, that's going to be the one that's going to be important later. Because they are still treating these documents as TS, as top secret documents, and even the judge is acknowledging that at this point. So it seems incredibly unlikely, given that after all of this time, after they were exposed and out in the wild, given that they're still being treated as TS documents, it's going to be really hard for him to claim that storing them in a bathroom or on a stage was within any kind of reg at all. So that's where we're at. I'm sure there will be more Trump news to come, undoubtedly. I don't think we'll end up doing these every week, but it'll probably be pretty often. Just to provide a little bit of context and a little bit more information. And having the right information will make all of the difference. Anyway, y'all have a good night.